Hello, welcome back. Another one of these. Today I want to go over a private ADHD diagnosis, how I got it, and what you can expect to go through. It refers mainly to the UK. I don't know about other countries, but yeah, this is for the UK really. I'm gonna go over like the steps that you need to take in order to get to a diagnosis, what time frames you can expect, and the waiting lists for whichever route you decide to go down, the cost of the assessments, and my own opinion on the process as well, because I have one of those. So in the UK, there's two available routes to a diagnosis. You can either go through the NHS, which is the NHS Adult ADHD service, or you can go through a private clinic, which is what I did, and that's what this video is going to refer back to. Pardon the cat box in the back, ignore that. But either way, if you do suspect that you've got ADHD, or someone else has suggested that you might do, the first step that you'll need to take, which is a really difficult one, especially I found it especially difficult, is a visit to your GP to bring it up. At this point, if your GP wants to refer you for an assessment, you can then either choose the NHS ADHD service. That has a waiting list though of I think I've said before, around 18 months for most of the UK. Or you can ask to be referred to a local private clinic. I went with my GP's recommendation, and that just happened to be Anchor Psychiatry. I'm in Norwich, and they've been brilliant. So my GP, depends on how efficient your doctor is, but my GP sent the referral off the next day, and within a week I received several sort of pre-screening questionnaires to fill in and then send back to them, one of which has to be filled in by either a parent or a significant other, or someone that knows you really well, basically. It then took around 4 days from the point of sending the questionnaires back to be given an assessment date. Mine was 6 weeks roughly from that day, but I have heard of people getting their assessments in as little as a week after sending back those pre-screen questions. Things at the minute with COVID are taking a lot longer, so you can expect to wait a little while, but 6 weeks in comparison to 18 months or 2 years is kind of nothing really, is it? So the next step is then just waiting for your assessment date, but in the meantime it's really helpful, and you should collate as many school reports as you possibly can, going back as early as you can as well, as these are really helpful for the diagnosis, because it's another opinion from like a trustworthy source, like your teachers, on what you were like, what your shortfalls were, for instance. So yeah, definitely get as many of those as you can. On the actual assessment day, for me, it was a Skype session because of COVID, and I would imagine most of them are at the minute, but there may still be some psychiatrists doing face-to-face appointments. It's basically a 2 to 3 hour discussion going over your childhood and the pre-screen questionnaires that you answered, and going over your answers. It's also really helpful to have someone who's known you as a child and an adult, like a parent, who might be able to remember back further than you can. I didn't have a parent available for it, so I just had my other half. She stepped in and answered some of the questions that I sort of struggled on. So that's really important. At the end of the assessment, then the consultant psychiatrist will tell you whether they've made a diagnosis or not. So they'll tell you if they think that you've got ADHD or not. If they do make a diagnosis, then you'll discuss the treatment options, which are medication or therapy. Really, those were the two that I was offered. If you are diagnosed and you choose medication, it can be prescribed immediately. I went and got my prescription from my psychiatrist like an hour or two after my assessment had finished, and then picked it up from a pharmacy that same evening, so it's really quick. If you do choose medication, you'll then start a titration period where your dose is increased to find the optimal amount of whatever you are prescribed, whether that be Concerta, Vyvanse or Elvanse, Strattera, Wellbutrin, whatever it might be. You'll then start a titration period. This period is usually covered within the cost of the assessment, as well as email correspondence with the psychiatrist. I was given a 6-week period in which I could have constant feedback from them and communication with them. In my case, with Anchor Psychiatry, it cost me £550 for the initial assessment, but you can expect this number to at least double by the time you've gone through the titration period. When you're buying multiple sets of medications, the price really adds up. So I think I said in a previous video, I'm looking at around about over £1,000 now altogether with assessment and prescriptions. So, and I want to say about 6 weeks in. That number keeps like changing because I never really know, but yeah, expect that number to go up quite a lot. Once you are diagnosed, if and when you're diagnosed, you will now have, or at least in my case, I had weekly check-ins with my psychiatrist, just a phone call or an email, to see how you're doing. They'll want to monitor your blood pressure and your heart rate as well over that time, and they'll adjust the dose if needed as well, of whatever you're on, until they've found like your therapeutic dose that you'll most likely stay on. So all together, to kind of conclude my experience on getting a private diagnosis, it was a bit of a whirlwind. So going from the genuine possibility that my symptoms and what I'd been struggling with was due to or was partly caused by ADHD to a diagnosis and taking medication, it all happened within around 7 weeks. Overall, despite the cost that I've had, it has been completely worth it for the difference that it's made to my life, and I'd absolutely make the same decision again to go down that route. It really has made a huge difference for me. So if you think that you might have ADHD, I really do encourage you to reach out to your GP and just suggest the possibility of it to them. The hardest part, I definitely found, the hardest part was just getting the ball rolling. So going and making that first appointment with a GP and suggesting it as a possibility. I suppose for the fear of them rejecting the idea and being back to square one. But if you do need some encouragement or have any questions about private diagnosis in the UK or anywhere else, I haven't got experience anywhere else, but if you do happen to have any questions, just leave a comment below and I will get back to you with my experience. That's all for today anyway. Yeah, that was my experience on a private ADHD diagnosis in the UK. Yeah, I'll see you in the next one. Ciao.